Welcome back to some of the final days of Kind of Funny's Pixar in review. As always, I'm Tim Geddes, joined by It's Christmas in August, Joey Noel.
It's me.
The big dog, Kevin Coelho.
What's up?
The producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Homie.
And of course, the Nitro Rifle, Andy Cortez.
Hello, everybody.
Very, very excited to be here with all of you today. Of course, this is Kind of Funny's In Review, where each and every week we rank and review 2 different movie franchises. It's a lot of fun. You can get it on youtube.com/kindoffunny or roosterteeth.com. If you want to get it as a podcast, just search for Kind of Funny In Review and we'll be right there for you on your favorite podcast service. And if you want to get the show ad-free and you want to watch live as we record it, guess what? Patreon.com/kindoffunny allows you to do just that. Just like our Patreon producer, Molecule, who will not need to listen to our ads about Babel, HelloFresh, and MeUndies like the rest of you will later. But I want to get right into it in just a second. Real quick, I have an announcement to make, everybody. Next week, we're having a lot of fun. We're going back to where it all began. MCU in review, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings will be done on Friday. And I got some breaking news for you right here. Greg Miller will be a part of it. We have rented out a theater so that Greg Miller feels safe enough to go see Shang-Chi. It's happening. Whoa. It's going to be hype. We're all going to be there together.
I'm invited?
That's exciting.
Oh, you're out.
This
Yeah,
is all
you
news
guys
to all of
invited.
us.
You guys are invited. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Way cheaper to rent a theater than for a day one movie than I ever would have expected. So hey, shout out to the world in some ways.
It's like
but to continue the hype, even cheaper than that. Continue the hype going into this, we are going to do
not a good sign.
The first ever MCU in review rewatch of Iron Man 3. What we're trying to do here is go back to what made In Review a show in the first place, which is kind of lead that hype train right into a brand new release that we're all excited about. So to refamiliarize ourselves with the 10 rings themselves that are in the titular, in the title, you get what I'm saying, for Shang-Chi. That's why we're doing that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Iron Man 3 will be Tuesday next week, and then Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings will be next week. We're not going to re-rank for these rewatches, but we will do the plot. We'll have fun. It's going to be just an update of our thoughts and all that stuff, and it's going to be a whole ton of fun. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about The Incredibles 2 with a runtime of 1 hour, 58 minutes. At 1 hour and 58 minutes, this is not only the longest Pixar film to date, but also the longest computer animated feature film to date, beating Cars 1, which ran for 1 hour and 57 minutes.
Interesting.
That 1 minute can go a long way.
Huge.
It was released on June 15th, 2018, making it Pixar's 20th film. It was directed by Brad Bird. Once again, he's directed the animated features The Iron Giant, The Incredibles 2, and Ratatouille, as well as the live-action films Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, and Tomorrowland. So this guy, banger after banger, and then Tomorrowland. The voices for the characters Tony Reidinger and Jack are the director's sons, Michael and Nick.
Ah,
Fun.
that's cute.
And of course, the director himself, Brad Bird, does the voice Edna Mode, which is very, very fun.
Fantastic. Edna, great in this.
The music was done once again by who, Nick?
Michael Giacchino.
Exactly.
Nailed it.
Giacchino. I've been messing it up the last couple weeks, and I was so positive I was getting it right. I am embarrassed for everybody.
It's
out
a hard
there.
one. It's a hard one because it's
embarrassed me too,
CCHINO, which I believe is the key sound instead of the G sound. CC would be G.
Shoot, I mean, we've all been getting it wrong,
Giacchino.
Tim. That's on me, too.
But the
sad.
music in this, phenomenal.
It's so
always. Come on.
Some hotness.
It had a budget of $200 million and a box office, hold on to your pants, Joey, of $1.243 billion, setting the record for the best debut for an animated film. And it's grossed, making it the 4th highest grossing film of 2018, the 2nd highest grossing animated film, and the 15th highest grossing film of all time during its theatrical run, along with being the 3rd to gross $1 billion in the Pixar land, following Finding Dory and Toy Story 3, making it the highest grossing Pixar film of all time.
God dang.
In terms of awards, this film was nominated for Best Animated Feature at the 76th Golden Globe Awards, and the 91st Academy Awards. But it lost to what, Andy Cortez?
At the what year? What year?
2018.
2018.
Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Boom. Nailed it. Into the motherfucking
Sorry, Andy. I jumped in
Spider-Verse.
there.
No, I needed you.
Family Feud, whatever.
I needed you there, Nick, because I'm working on the rankings. I forgot what last
There
week
it
was.
is.
Forgot what the ranking is. It's all good.
Some fun facts for you. One advantage that Pixar had with Incredibles 2 was the advancement of technology the company had seen since the original film and a team of much more experienced animators. Producer John Walker said, I think that one of the things that excited Brad the most was the fact that technology existed now to finally realize the designs in the way they had hoped to realize in 2004. There were no notions of, well, we don't know how to do long hair. We don't know how to do humans. We don't know how to do muscles. Everybody knows how to do it. It's just about how do we do it quickly. Because Pixar no longer used the same systems from the first film, all the characters had to be created from scratch on the computer again. The studio also used physically based human eye models for the characters for the first time, which possibly made the eyes which made it possible to make the eyes larger and more stylized than that of real humans. And what was cool is they figured out how to make this movie quickly, and they actually made it so fast that they were able to release this movie way sooner than they were planning on it. With Toy Story 4 and all that stuff, they were able to shuffle some things around. So cool stuff. And this movie does pass the Bechdel test. Before we go on too long, Kevin, I want to know what you thought about The Incredibles 2.
I really enjoyed it. I feel like I don't know, there's a bunch of the baby stuff, just like the raccoon is just hysterical. Like I remember when I saw it in theaters, I was hysterically laughing. I couldn't hold myself back. Rewatching it today, I had a great time with that. The only issues I have with this movie is that I feel like they waited too long and the dad sounds super old. Also, the relationship the mom and the dad have seems really unhealthy. And I wish it had improved from the last one, but I don't think that it did. But yeah, overall, a very enjoyable movie.
There we go. Joey Noel, what do you think?
It was my first time. Well, I thought it was my first time seeing it, but then I can't tell if it's one of those movies where it's parts of it have just been like clipped out and gifted and memed that like I feel like I've seen it even though I haven't. Because like Violet in the restaurant, like spitting out the water and stuff like that. Like
one of the best animated moments of all time. Like just that
so
one
good.
couple frames.
But I really liked this. I thought it was really fun. The music is killer. It's so good. I think it's a really good sequel. I like that they kind of like play with gender roles, and Elastigirl kind of gets her moment in this one and gets to be kind of the main character. My girl, Sophia Bush, voices Void, there we go. I was like, Vane, that's not it. And I think she does a really good job as someone who doesn't really do like animated stuff. She has like a fun, like kind of frenetic feeling to her little character. So I was excited to see when she popped up. And yeah, I like that we get some like more Violet character development. I had a really fun time. I was not expecting this just because I hadn't really been that familiar with Incredibles before we did this.
Yeah. Andy, what did you think?
Movie's absolutely fantastic. I think it's just the amount of time from the last time that we watched it. I had kind of forgotten it, and going into this felt like I was going to be a little bit lower on it, a little bit down on this movie. And I kind of agree with Kevin. Sure, that a lot of time passed before the first one and this one, but I think all the family dynamics are there. I just like Joey was mentioning. I love Elastigirl sort of stepping up and Bob kind of not feeling great about it, and I love that the tension that it caused. This is a fucking good ass movie, dude. Like there is not one part of this movie that I feel is too weak and gets overshadowed by the other plot. Like I think everything happening with Elastigirl and Screenslaver I think is really neat, and I love that reveal moment of putting the glasses and be like, God, you're smart. You know, you had it. Good job. Like now you're kind of under my control now. That's such a cool moment.
Scary. And
then I love everything on the other side with Bob kind of having to become more of a responsible father and taking care of all these kids and all of these sort of ups and downs with that, seeing him sort of conquer math and study and having that really cool moment with he and
Dash.
There we go. Seeing that really cool moment with he and Dash and kind of once he figures it out and be like, all right, let's wake up, let's do this. Hey, you got this shit, kid. Go, like, good job, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Such a cool moment. And the only thing that bothered me was near the end, these kids are just too dumb. Just like take the mask off of these guys. You're knocking them out. You're knocking out all these league of whatever the hell they are. Take off the masks. But
yeah, but they didn't know. They didn't necessarily know the masks.
No, they did.
Did they?
They did by that point because Frozone had been taken over.
Oh, right.
And then they were in the car and were like, they took over Frozone like you know where we're going. They probably have mom under control as well. So that was the only thing that kind of annoyed me. But we need to get to the next part, so that's all good.
Yeah.
This movie is freaking great. Yeah, I had an absolute blast watching it.
Nick.
Jack versus the raccoon is one of my favorite things that Pixar has ever done. And I remember watching that in theaters, just being so overjoyed and delighted that the scene goes on for a solid maybe 2 minutes longer than it needs to go on for. And I don't care. And then it has another fun payoff where she's like, did Dash finish his math homework? And he looks over, Dash is asleep on the books. What about Violet with her date? You see her walk over, get a tub of ice cream, crying, go there. And did Jack go down? And it just pans over, and Jack is squared off against the raccoon again. He's just like waiting to get through that glass, the raccoon. And I love that the raccoon is like, oh no, this kid is fucking way overpowered, but then comes back for more because you're not going to screw with the raccoon family. The movie's great, man. I mean, they took what they did in the first one, they built upon it. It doesn't necessarily hit and have the magic of the first one, but very few things do, because origin stories like the first one are they have that special touch to them. But this one is a really fun continuation, and I think they managed to find a really good B story that's the heart of it, which is that dynamic between Helen and Bob, where it is that role reversal, like everyone talked about, and it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch Bob be that Mr. Mom, be a fish out of water, and just be like, oh my god, I took this for granted all this time, and it's like really freaking hard to be a parent. Not only that, I have to be a parent to a newborn who has multiple powers and can do all these things. And I love the theme behind that of being like, hey, you think it's hard? Like, this is how hard it is to be a parent. This is how it can feel like when you've got a kid that can just go through walls and, disappear in other dimensions. And like, I always get a laugh where he's like, Jack want a cookie? Jack want a cookie? Like, all of those things work for me. And then, of course, Edna's my favorite character in anything ever. Yeah, I think they tell a good story. I think toward the end of it, you're like, okay, the wrap up with the A story with Evelyn and with all that it is what it is. I think Syndrome.
I love the motivations there, though.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, they could just keep making, if they hit this level of quality with all the Incredibles movies, they can make 10 more of these, and I'd watch all of them.
And before Tim goes, shout out to voice actor of Vamp from Metal Gear Solid 2, Phil Lamar, also of Mad TV fame, who voices both Crush Hour and Helectrix.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Crush Hour, hilarious. Where he's like, you want me to uncrush it? He's like, yeah, I want you to uncrush it. No one's ever asked me. Right?
Funny.
Do you unpunch someone? He's like, everyone asks you to unpunch someone?
I love that. I'm kind of similar with all you guys, where going into this, I've seen it before and I loved it the first time, but going in now is kind of like, I don't know how stoked I am to watch this. Is it going to hit as high as it did for me in theaters? And I was just as shocked. I think if anything, doing Pixar in review has taught me that the sequels are way better than any of us give them credit for the most part. There's the exception of Cars 2, but Monsters University is a damn fine movie.
Good movie.
Finding Dory, Andy, I know you disagree. It's a damn fine movie. And Incredibles 2, it's a damn fine movie. And in my opinion, I think it's actually better than the first. I think that it's not better than I don't think it's better in every single way. But I've never been that high on the first one to begin with. But what I loved most about one was how incredibly it handles kind of dealing with superheroes and throwing it all out there. I remember saying it kind of feels like it was Iron Man 1 through Avengers all in one movie, in the way that they kind of introduce you to this world, to the history, like supers being banned, but we get the past of that. Like, there was a lot of content, a lot of story, lore, character development, all of that in that one movie, and it works. Like, that's the most shocking part. This movie does the same thing, but we've had 20 years of amazing superhero movies and mainstream superhero TV shows and adventures between that. So for this movie to come out and just be like, yeah, we're making a superhero movie with a bunch of superheroes that you don't know necessarily. Like, there is no other story. There's only one movie. That's it. They knocked it out of the park. Like, how did we watch this movie in the same time frame as Thor Ragnarok and Doctor Strange and upcoming Infinity War and all that stuff, and still we're all like, yeah, they fucking did it? Because they fucking did it, man. The villain's awesome. The side characters are great. The powers, they commit to them in such a strong way. And I love that this is just a direct sequel to the first one. Like, let's not leave any room for things to happen and us having to fill in the blanks. It's like, no,
picks up right after the other one.
Right after, we're continuing it.
Which is crazy.
Rats. You know, and to that point, it does. It hits on those two levels, right? It hits on the standard quality that Pixar is known for, which is the heart, great character development, good story, and finding some themes that are relevant today. But it also just works as a good superhero movie. The choreography when Frozone like walks up and there's that tension where they're all there with the glasses. He's like, "Oh, they called you too," and he's like totally like playing it chill.
Yep.
No pun
Yeah.
intended. But that whole scene, all of the fight scenes, everything with Elastigirl is just fun to watch. Well choreographed, well paced, good action.
I mean, that's my
I'll
thing.
tell you
Man.
what.
My favorite choreographed scene is her with the elastocycle.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
incredible.
badass.
So
The
fucking
hover
cool.
train sequence, yeah, it's
The
badass.
train of her riding, like splitting the
think-
bike
Dude,
into
she
two.
splits the
going
bike
around.
in two and then kicks
It's
it
like-
up into the hill to explode. That's awesome.
All of
When the movie
fights-
started, I was like, I looked over at Gia and I was like, maybe 10 minutes in, where I was like, okay, I'm so stoked about this movie. Like, let's fucking go. I was like, imagine a world where one day we might get a Marvel Studios Pixar movie. And then about halfway through, I'm just like, okay, this isn't Marvel characters, but this is that. Like, this is
yeah.
that.
It's a
good.
Marvel movie. It feels as fun as Iron Man 1 or Avengers or any of these things. And that's, you know, to that point, like if they ever made a spin-off series where it was like an animated series with any of these side characters, I think it could totally work. Kevin?
You keep trying to start saying something?
Yeah, sorry, I was gonna say that I felt like all of the action scenes are so well choreographed. Actually, I don't know that it would work as a show because I feel like they're putting a lot of like attention and love into so many different aspects of the movie. But yeah, the action scenes are like insanely good. Like
Yeah,
every single time they have a fight, I'm always like blown away by it.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of any of the action scenes that we've seen in, John Wick or Mission Impossible, where they're not just doing really fun things; they go really creative with them. Like what?
Yeah.
Like how weird and wacky can we get with this bike? And again, we already mentioned the bike splitting apart, but I love the sort of tension and momentum used when she's kind of flipping with the bike to push herself further and vault herself higher up and further up into the air. Just really cool. And like you could tell they had a lot of fun with figuring out neat ways to kind of make this scene more visually interesting as opposed to just it's a chase scene, you know?
Yeah.
And there's something about the tension that they build that is so well done. Like when there's a point where she goes off the bike on something and then lands on like a small
The little
ledge,
Yeah.
and she like angles herself all the way to the left while pushing the bike to the right to keep the balance, and it's really well done, and
Really
it's
cool.
really it looks cool. It almost seems realistic, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing too, is just visually. I know it's just broken record at this point, but the last 5 weeks or so, like these movies have just hit a point of
Dude.
like, damn.
You know, like I was literally watching this and I was like, God, the fucking fabric on there, like the fabric alone is just fascinating to watch. They nailed the sheen on his costume and her costume and all those textures. It's like, it sounds silly to say, but seeing that level of artistry go into it, they just strike that perfect balance of realism and cartoon. It's great.
And the backgrounds too, you know, like seeing in the beginning when they're fighting the underminer and they're inside the big mining thing, and there's the boiler, and just like all the details around that stuff and the way that they use color, and especially with these characters that are so bright red, for them to be in this environment that is so red as well, to be able to make them stand out from these almost hyper realistic looking backgrounds, like that is Pixar kind of at its best. In the last couple of weeks, we've had some moments where the realistic backgrounds with the cartoony characters didn't exactly fit, but like they're just getting better and better and better at that.
Shout out to the sort of stylized Pixar intro.
Oh my lord!
Having
You mean the Disney
incredible
intro
fied.
that's done incredible? Yeah, it's so
perfect.
cool. With that, like the bongos.
And the color
that's what-
scheme and everything. Yeah.
Do you
so
think
cool.
that they saw Mission Impossible and they were like, let's make sure that Nick draws that parallel every time we hear those bongos?
Well,
Yeah,
that was the inspiration.
Yeah,
The 1960s like Mission Impossible like TV shows and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And
Well,
that's another
also-
thing that I thought was cool is like the fact that this was a direct sequel, like to the minute from the
I
first
love
one.
that. I freaking love when movies do that.
That it firmly like kept it in the 60s, and it kept it having that kind of like super fun Tomorrowland-ish vibe to it. And the monorail, the train that usually is behind the castle in the intro for the Disney thing, they updated it to be the monorail from the original Tomorrowland Disneyland shit. So that was cool.
That's super cool.
Please tell us the story. Yeah, Nick, tell us the story. You're just supposed to hop in, Nick, when I'm fading
Rick,
away. Just
I know, I was just I was entranced by it. Rick Dicker interrogates Tony Reidinger about an incident he saw regarding Violet. Now, Rick Dicker, of course, played by Andy.
It's Mike Ehrmantraut. I don't know I don't know the actor's name.
Good enough. Love his voice. He does a great job here. Yeah, to Tim's point, we pick up right after the events of Incredibles 1 with the Underminer popping up. He's like, I'm always beneath you, but nothing is beneath me. And he is played by Tim.
The Ratzenberger watch, baby.
Johnny Rats. Johnny Rats. Of course, this is the part where Tony sees Violet take off her mask and he freaks out. He runs off and feels bad because, you know what, he kind of likes this girl. And then Rick's like, yeah, don't worry about it, but you're not going to remember that. You're not going to remember anything. And then the little plunger hits his thing. And I was like, man, they had a little bit more elegant in Men in Black, but I guess this is what's going to have to do. He and Mr. Rick erases memory, and then the title splash cuts to Mr. Incredible getting bucked off of the Underminer as it goes underground and blows up all the foundations of the bank so it can suck up all the money, and Mr. Incredible gets sucked up into the vacuum as well. He takes off underground once again. Mr. Incredible tries to stop the massive drilling machine from breaching the ground, but it can't, and everyone springs into action, including Frozone, who is another great part of this movie. Just crushing it.
Choreography's just wild with all of the cool.
Yeah.
And I love how well the attention to detail and all the physics where we see the drill kind of moving and it's like slowing down and it's kind of being pushed up, and there's such a good sense of weight in this movie, and all the Frozone scenes are just so much fun.
I feel like that's also very true when he's running or you know,
all the
ice
momentum,
skating.
doing all the ice stuff.
The momentum feels so, like the way he shoots it down, and later when he's shooting chunks of ice at the boat. Like you can really feel it, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I like the choreography here too, where Bob, like, he's like, I'll keep it from hitting one of the buildings, and just runs up and just throws a shoulder into the tread and like knocks it over this way as Helen goes in. Of course, we get introduced to Winston Dever here, played by Bob Odenkirk, who watches with excitement as the heroes are once again back in public, and he's like, this is the time. Helen and Bob knock the boiler over as Frozone builds an ice mound, and Violet shields her family from the boiler explosion, and we get the resolution here. Although there's been a lot of property damage. Frozone's like, uh-oh, we're still illegal. So he tries to bang out, and then one of Dever's guys comes and recruits him, while Helen and the fam get the 3rd degree from the feds and get moved once again to witness relocation at a motel. I was going to say hotel, but I'm like, wait, what's the one that's only 2 stories? It's a motel.
Is that the difference?
I believe so. Well, motel is like a motor inn, like a motor lodge. We pull a smaller.
I think it faces outdoors, right? That's the other thing with the motel.
Usually, yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. Kevin can look that
know.
up. I don't know. I don't know if there's a
I'll
huge
look into
difference.
it. I'll look it into
Hotel,
it.
motel, Holiday Inn.
Exactly.
I think he knew. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Violet tells her dad that Tony
what do you-
saw. What's up?
What do you guys think, like, had they not stepped in? Because it seems like in this world, not a lot of villains running around. Once the supers went away, they also went away, right?
Well, they sort of had that conversation where like, it's actually better if you had done nothing because all of these buildings are insured. And had you guys not stepped in, it wouldn't have breached the ground and like destroyed all the buildings around it. So you caused a lot more property damage than the insurance would have had to pay out.
But what I'm saying is, like, how would the cops have handled this?
They would have been like this. Let's go to Starbucks. This is way outside of our purview.
They just would have let him go away and then been like,
they
it
just
sucks.
rob the place and be done.
It's a
short-term
in this
solution
sequence
to a
though. We're
long-term
saving lives though. Like Helen is saving that lady about to fall down that trench, and
Right,
then
but
Dash
it's
is knocking the
only
lady out
because
of
they
the way.
intervened, right? It's because they intervened that all those people were put into harm's way to begin with, is what the feds were trying to make the case for.
I'm not a big fan of that. I
like
feel
the
like
feds either,
harm would have
Andy.
happened anyway.
Exactly. That's why we should start our grow house right now. Screw the feds.
I mean,
Let's start a grow house
Right?
in Barrett's closet and see what happens.
I like that he tries to distance himself from it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
they
he was
got a
like,
spare
oh,
room.
I'm
They
not
got
gonna
a
do it
spare
in
room,
my
Kevin.
house. I'm not gonna
Kevin,
do
you
it
got
in
a
my
spare
house.
room. Let me start a grow house in your room. Cecil will
Go
be
for it,
fucking
man.
great, man. I'll be super docile. I'll be
Let's
hot
do
with
it.
him.
I'm all in.
Licking all the seeds.
You got to do one little catnip plant for Thomas.
Oh yeah. He's like, oh, yeah. Anyway, Violet tells her dad, "Hey, sorry, this might not be the best time to tell you, but Tony kind of saw me without my mask, And then, of course, Bob passes that along to Rick, and we get the little resolution of what we saw in the first scene where Rick basically just deleted his entire memory. All he could do is and then Rick's like, listen, dude, program canceled. All I can do is give you 2 more weeks in the motel, then you're on your own. The family gets into an argument about what happened. The kids, of course, are like, listen, you told us we should be heroes, and you told us we should fight. And Mr. Incredible's like, you know what? We did. But Helen's like, hey, we got to respect the law. And we got ourselves a little Captain America Civil War here. Because they're both right? She's like, it is illegal, and we're putting our kids in jeopardy, right? They could be thrown in jail, they could thrown in juvie or whatever, or worse, we could go to jail and they could be taken away from us. But then at the same time, we had the whole story arc of the first one, which is continued here, which is that the kids want to be super and they're incredible and they have these things and they should foster that so they learn how to use their powers for good. This hotel does look like a cool place. You could drink a White Claw next to you. I had that noted here.
Next to.
Yeah, next to the pool, you know what I mean? Like you're at the pool.
I love that. That is such a good detail.
You put your feet in the pool. You're sitting there. You're like, hey, what's that? People are like, are you? I'm sorry. Tim? Are you staying in this motel? Like, oh no, just have friends here.
Just drinking a Claw. Yeah.
Someone's barbecuing. You're like, are we supposed to barbecue at 9 o'clock at night? We're like, dude, we're 10 White Claws in right now. Let's see.
Real quick, a hotel is a building with interior corridors that various rooms are off on.
Thank you.
Off of. A motel is shorter for motel hotel. Wow. Motel hotel is what
I
they're
hated
called.
learning that.
It does not have interior corridors.
Okay.
Got it. Okay.
Joey's right.
Of course, Violet gets the final word in this fight. She was like, I thought it was kind of cool fighting crime as a family. And then I think Bob said it was cool. Oh, no, Helen said it was cool, but the world is what it is, and we have to adapt. Of course, later that night, Helen and Bob do exactly what I was talking about, where they dip their toes in the pool and they face reality. Helen tells them that they can't count on anyone else. We're on our own. Lucius comes to tell them the good news, though. He says, Winston Dever wants to talk about some hero stuff. Helen's like, I don't know about this, man. Last time this happened, this guy basically almost killed all of us. And he's like, oh, what could possibly happen that's bad? But Bob talks her into it. Might as well hear him out. Hear what he has to say. Oh, and Lucius says, you might want to wear your old super suits. Get the feeling this guy is nostalgic. Of course, Bob and Helen sneak out that night, and Violet ain't no fool. She looks down and spots her mom's old super boots underneath the trench coat. She's like, what the heck is going on? They head over to Dever's headquarters and meet the man himself and also his sister, Evelyn. Winston comes in late to the meeting with a bunch of plans and stuff. And it turns out the dynamic here is that she designs all the stuff and Winston is the one that markets all the stuff.
Mr. Odenkirk, we're glad you're recovering. Now, you're listening to this podcast, probably.
I assume as much, right? I mean, we're cool. He's cool. Why not listen to us, Bob? Can I call you
glad,
Bob?
What's wrong with him? Why is he recovering?
He had a heart attack on the set of Better Call Saul like 2 weeks ago when I was back home in Texas.
No.
It was very scary there for a second. A lot of people saying like he's gonna fight through this. I was like, oh shit! It was like I thought he just collapsed. I thought he maybe fainted, but no, he had a heart attack. But he's already been posting that he's doing completely fine. He's recovering and on the mend.
That's good.
He kills it, man. I think both these characters are fantastic, and I from every level, I think the performances are awesome. I think that their motivations are great, and like how they play it in the plot in this movie, I think is really really interesting. And as villains / are they villains type thing, I think that it tells a really interesting story.
He's not a villain. I think she's the villain, right? The sister.
Yeah, but they're like kind of making you think he is until he's not.
Oh.
And even
I got that vibe. That's funny.
I feel like even till when you find out it's her, you even wonder like, are they in cahoots? Like, how does this all work? Like,
yeah,
I think they play with that very well.
I agree, Joe. I think early on, I'm like, clearly he's the villain. Like, there's no way. And even when they are on the way to sending Helen towards this town on her first sort of job, and he's like, bunch of new crime here to take down. She's like, wow, why are you excited about a bunch of crime?
Right.
Like they sort of drop all these little things to sort of lead you astray, and I think it's really cool.
That's funny because I always read that as like he super loves
like a kid.
Superheroes.
Yeah.
And
but
like
you never know.
the catty sister, I immediately was like, I don't trust her. I don't trust there.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out
Well,
for her.
It turns out Winston and Evelyn's father was a huge supporter of heroes. He even installed special phones with direct lines to Gazer Beam and Phryonic in case of emergency, just like the Bat phone. Love that little homage. He was heartbroken, of course, when the heroes were all forced to go underground. He believed the world would be more dangerous without them. And he was right. There was a break-in, and since supers were just made illegal, no one could answer the phone, and he was shot. But if the supers weren't outlawed, they could have saved him. Of course, Evelyn steps in to disagree. She's like, or he could have just gone to the panic room with our mother, the safe room that they had, and called the cops, and he would have been totally fine. And I got to be honest with you, I think I'm kind of seeing Evelyn's side on this one. Like, how fast can they get there? You know what I mean? Is it faster than you can just go into the safe room, lock yourself in there? Also, just throwing it out there, why not put the phones in the safe room?
Do both. Do
both.
both. Yep. Go into
Little
the
column
safe
A,
room
little column B.
where the phones are closed. No reason to be like, because even like neither of them flew, right?
No, but here's what Geyserbeam flew. Remember he had the cape? He was the one that got sucked in
We
the
need to
thing, I
talk to
think.
the company that built
Oh
this
no,
house. Yeah.
Geyserbeam's the one that died in the
Dies
bottom
in
of the
yeah,
cave.
it's really
That's
sad.
right.
We see
Here's what I'm
his
gonna say.
body.
In the safety, Tim, in the new studio, we're gonna build a panic room. It's gonna have all these things. It's gonna have a direct line to the superheroes, and we're gonna put a slit in it just big enough for a Signora's extra large pizza.
Love that.
Tim,
Thank you.
Tim, I want you to know
Sure
we're
that this
not
can't go
building a
wrong.
safety room. I might have a small half office, and it's not the half that you're thinking.
Great.
It's on the roof.
Yeah, lower, but it'll be long. So that's good.
It is good.
Winston and Evelyn have taken their family's company and grown into a multi-billion-dollar telecommunications business, and they want to make all the supers legal again by changing the perception. The one thing that they need to do is change the perception of heroes in the public eye and make them popular again. And their best weapon to do that is Helen. Very much to Bob's dismay. He's like, what? And they're like, yeah, basically, listen. Helen, she's got a lighter touch, as we would say. And Bob, you're out there kind of as a wrecking ball. We can't have that right now. We got to change that perspective.
I love this. Bob is like the old kind of traditional guy that is really put off by stats in sports, Nick, where like they got these scientists kind of running to the numbers and being like, this is more efficient, just do this. And Bob's like, nah, man, we got to put our hands in the dirt and do it the old way. It's like, no, dude, you are costing a lot more damage than she is per year. Like, quit being an idiot.
Can I try a sports analogy?
No.
So
you're just
Bob
Yes.
is
Yes.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, and
not doing great so far.
the other person is Brad Pitt
Yes.
and Jonah Hill.
Moneyball?
Moneyball.
Exactly.
Ah.
Exactly.
Thank you. Kevin had
When
zero
you said
faith
sports
in me.
analogy and you said
Zero.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, took
That's
me
more
a
of a,
second to
yeah.
figure
I
out where
was
you were
like
going.
I was like, he's already wrong.
I love it. This plot point I think is really, really interesting. And as a lifelong comics fan, it's something I don't really think is dealt with that much. And like that's the strength of Incredibles and Brad Bird, where it's like, let's take all these things people know and flip it a little bit and like kind of create unique situations. Like we've kind of had damage control before, and like, you know, even like Spider-Man Homecoming dealt a little bit with like the fallout of what the Avengers did and what that did for like Michael Keaton's life and all that shit. But I think the way they handle it here and like focusing on Elastigirl as being a better hero because she caused less damage is very real, very interesting, and it worked out great.
Hours later that night, Bob and Helen have that argument over whether or not Helen should take that offer.
Real quick,
Bob, yeah, go for it.
I feel like it bums me out that I think the whole reason the first movie happens is because the dad wants to go back to the glory days, right? So he makes a big mistake, secretly is working on the project, makes the machine strong enough that it can beat him. And I just feel like he didn't learn anything because he's just so down to like go back into it. And that kind of bums me out, where it's like I expected after the first movie for there to be more growth in his character. And I understand that we're only maybe like a week from then. But like I would imagine we'd see change, longer lasting change after the first movie with that.
Yeah, but I think that to not to disagree with you too much, but I think that the resolution of the first movie had all of the entire family fighting together as superheroes. And I think if you used to be a superhero and that's what your calling was in life, the expectation after that got dashed would be like, oh my, like you'd be depressed. You'd be like, oh fuck. Exactly. So
Well, and I think going
think,
back to what Andy said too is like he's not he's not looking at the numbers. He's like, oh, that was like a one-time thing that happened. Like, let's do it again.
Right.
That we won't be beaten twice.
Big problems that require big solutions, you know.
I love that.
yeah,
But of course, go ahead.
I just kind of feel like he doesn't care that he puts people in danger, and he's down to do that again. And that just
yeah, but I think the first movie was
grow
more,
up some point.
but the first movie was about that growth, right? The first movie was like about putting your family before you, and then that
Right.
resolution was his family is super, and if he does put them before him, he can train them to be super, and they can all be super together.
Nick, I believe the first movie was about if you're not born special, then you're not special. So stop
Exactly.
trying.
Yeah, that's what we
Anyone
talked
can
know?
cook.
Yeah.
Anyone can cook.
But
except
that's what I'm
for
saying. Like that
everyone.
message from that first movie, like he's not like thinking like they're broke and he's not trying to find a job. He's just like, oh, I'm so upset that I can't be a superhero. And I feel like he like she's like, no, it's fine. I could find a job, and he's kind of pouty and like he's gonna do it, but I just don't.
No, We're
listen.
just
I don't
gonna
think he got any
talk. We're
better.
just gonna talk in circles about.
Yeah.
it.
So anyway, later that night, Bob and Helen argue over whether or not Helen should take the job. Bob says, "Listen, I want you to do this for the kids, so they have the choice later in life to be superheroes." And she's like, "I think you also just want me to do it for you, so you can be a superhero." And he's like, "You know what? Yeah, that's true. I do because we're awesome and we can be superheroes, and we should try to do that." And she goes, "You know, it's crazy, right? To help my family, I have to leave it. To fix the law, I have to break it." And he says, "There won't be a problem. Go do the thing." And then Bob gives her a little, like, I love this scene because Bob's supportive, but he's also, his ego's hurt and it's bruised. And he goes, "Go do the thing. Go do it great. Go do it so that I can do it better." As he falls asleep.
Damn.
And
Brutal.
it's joking around and it's great. Deborah gives the family access to one of his houses, one of the small little house owned by previously an eccentric billionaire who designed it with all sorts of cool hidden gadgets and stuff. We get a little fun scene where Dash plays with the Think controller and the couch falls into the cool, floating river thing that's going through the house.
This place is awesome.
Yeah.
I love the design of this building. I love the use of excessive waterfalls. Like, it's not just a waterfall. There's waterfalls everywhere. I love that it's all remote control, and I'm just like, this is the
so
type of
dope.
life I want to live.
This place was definitely owned by like a super villain at one point, right?
Or hero, Tony Stark.
They said he was an eccentric billionaire. That's what they said. But yeah, I would say superhero or super billionaire.
I got
or a
super
guy that just
villain
really
vibes.
likes raccoons. Of course, Helen gets a new darker suit
Possibility.
with a camera built into it, and Bob's like, "Wait a minute, Edna did design that. You are going to hear it from her." And then there's a note that came with that said, "Hey, there's a new thing as well in the garage." When they open it up, it's a spiffy new electric Elastabike that looks fun as hell. Bob tells her, she's like, "What the hell am I doing?" Bob's like, "You're going to be great." And she tells you, "You know what? You will too. We're both going to be great." Of course, Bob with the kids. And then Bob watches with Jack in hand as Helen's like, "Yeah, thanks." And then tears off onto the freeway where the first group of people she encounters is a group of teens who are like, "Holy shit, you're Elastigirl." And they just cheer her on and she just floors it. And we're like, she's never coming back. Mama's never coming back. Mama's going to have a new family in Philadelphia. Helen hops on a plane with Winston and Evelyn to New Urbam and is super excited. Cut back to the house. Bob tries to explain the situation to the kids. And thankfully, they're like, "Wait, Mom's doing all these things." And basically, they just see right through it. They're like, "Wait, she's breaking the law to be a superhero?" And he's like, "Well, yeah." And then the school bus comes and is saved by the bell. Thank God. It's just him and Jack. And then Jack poops his pants. Helen over here sits out and listens to the police scanner. And again, I like this parallel, right? She even talks about it. She goes, "There was a time where my husband used to sneak out of the house and listen to the police scanner, and I thought that was crazy. And now look where I'm at, right? That role reversal coming full circle." One, of course, minor details. She's not lying to her husband when she's doing that. So that's the important thing to note. But she overhears a potential threat to the launch of the new hover train and heads off. Meanwhile, Bob tells Violet for her date, she has to be home by 10:30. They have a fun little back and forth where she's like, "How about 11?" He goes, "How about 9:30?" She's like, "10:30 it is." And then Dash needs help with new math. And they get super frustrated. And I love this. He's like, "Why would they?" He's like, "They changed it. Why would they change it? Math is math. Why would they change math?"
Fantastic dialogue here. And a fun fact that I saw reading some trivia is when he's trying to help Dash with his homework, he can be seen struggling with new math, describing it as making no sense at all and exclaiming, "This is math. Why would they change math?" New math was a brief dramatic change in the way mathematics was taught in American grade schools during the 1960s, which was highly criticized and quickly fell out of favor. The relevance of this joke comes from frustration modern parents occasionally experience with Common Core mathematics. I did not know that was a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys?
I knew there was something called new math. I had no idea what period it was, though.
I thought it was a reference to math changing like 5 years ago.
That's what I thought too.
That's what I thought
it was
they were referencing.
release time relevant. But I guess that's also called Common Core math, so it might have just come back, maybe.
Maybe, man. Give it,
All I know
give it
is
another
one
shot.
of the reasons I'm thankful I don't have children is because I would be fundamentally terrible at helping them with their homework past like the 3rd grade.
The couple years ago was New Math Reboot.
Oh, redux.
Thank you.
Anyway,
Yes.
he reads Jack a story again to keep. I love this sequence because he put Jack to sleep, and then Jack's back, so he reads it again, and keeps nodding off. Over in New Urbam.
No, hold on.
however-
There were a couple moments of just animation brilliance in this movie. One of them is what we talked about earlier with Violet when her eyes go big. But Jack slapping his dad's face,
He's like,
being
"To
so
read
into the story. His dad falls asleep and just like hits him
Yeah,
with
a little slap.
I love it. It's just so fucking great.
Oh man! Over New Urbam, the hover train takes off in the wrong direction, and Helen realizes something's wrong, so she takes off after it, and pretty soon gets up to about 100 miles an hour. Dash calls because he can't find his high tops, and then Helen tells her to look under the bed, and then she cuts him off and takes a shortcut up.
I
to the
love that
train.
part where it's like Dad can't find it, but Dad won't let me call you because he knows that you're going to be mad. And have we
Right.
not all had this thing? Like, I can't find the thing in the fridge. Did you move anything? Did you look behind anything?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
The train hits a tunnel and Helen literally splits apart along with the bike as she rides on the walls, which is fucking awesome. And then she ditches her bike up into a mountaintop as she flattens herself as it goes into another tunnel, and makes it to the conductor, who appears to be hypnotized. The train rockets toward the next station. She unhooks the main cabin from the caboose, I guess we'd call it, and uses her body as a parachute to slow it down. When she busts in to question the conductor, he snaps out of his trance, and a message comes over the screen in front of him that reads, "Welcome back, Elastigirl, the Screenslaver." Andy, is there a cooler name ever than the Screenslaver?
Great little play on words. Very creative. But like, I think there could have been more work done there, Nick. I think we could have gone back into the research room, and there's got to be something cool that we could. Screenslaver. It just sounds like you're misspeaking. Is my problem with it. Maybe marketing and Greater America doesn't catch on because of like it's not good for SEO, and they're like Google goes, "Did you mean screensaver?" It's like, fuck, no, I meant screenslaver. I'm the villain.
I'm with you to an extent, but the fact is, it makes people slaves from watching screens. It's like, come on, it's just too damn good.
It's really smart, yeah. But I feel like it was the first option, and they were like, "Let's go with that. Let's work on it a bit more."
You know why I like it though? Because the name itself, like to your point, Andy, where you're like it's generic as shit. It's the kind of name you'd come up with if you were using that character as a red herring. And so it's like it is generic because she designed it that way to be this like generic villain that could get caught and like throw people off her track, which I think is cool. Also, I think it's
before we get back to the plot, though, let me tell you about our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Babbel. When you're traveling to a destination where you don't know the language, it can be challenging to accomplish even the simplest of tasks. Tell me that isn't true. You know, there's one time I remember I was in Bali and I was very overwhelmed, not understanding what was going on, and that could have easily been solved if I had Babbel in my life back then. Thankfully, there's Babbel, the #1 selling language learning app. Babbel is a travel essential. Greg Miller's been learning a little French here and there so he can better communicate with one Geneviève Saint-Onge Miller. You know what I'm talking about? Babbel's 15-minute lessons make it the perfect way to learn a new language on the go. Other language learning apps use AI for their lesson plans, but Babbel lessons were created by over 100 language experts. Pretty cool. Right now, when you purchase a 3-month Babbel subscription, you'll get an additional 3 months for free. So that's 6 months for the price of 3. Just go to babbel.com and use promo code MORNING. That's BABBEL.com, code MORNING. Babbel, language for life. Next up, shout out to HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-measured ingredients and mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Fall is busy, but HelloFresh recipes save time you'd otherwise spend meal planning, shopping, and shopping, so you can get back to what matters. HelloFresh's family-friendly menu is a big win for back-to-school season with easy, delicious recipes for drama-free dinners. So many members of Kind of Funny have been loving HelloFresh, including Kevin Coelho and Paula Coelho. She's a vegetarian. He's not. Guess what? There's options for both. It's great. So much cool stuff. You can go to HelloFresh.com/morning14 and use code morning14 for up to 14 free meals, including free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/morning14 and use code morning14 for up to 14 free meals. Very cool. Go check that out now. One more time. HelloFresh.com/morning14 and use code morning14 for up to 14 free meals and free shipping. And finally, shout out to MeUndies. It's fall, y'all. Replace those hydration stations with pumpkin spice lattes and go out of your way to step on crunchy leaves because the coziest time of the year has arrived. I love MeUndies. I'm obviously wearing a MeUndies shirt right now, MeUndies lounge pants, MeUndies undies, and MeUndies socks because that's the type of life that I live. I just love their soft micromodal fabric and I want it all over my body. MeUndies, can you make some bomber jackets? Please. I want them very, very bad. Imagine the softest thing you've ever felt. Now imagine that's the thing on your butt. That is MeUndies. They're designed by the country's top softness scientists to be the softest thing you've ever worn, period. It's so true. I can attest. To get 50% off your first order, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/morning. That's MeUndies.com/morning to get 15% off and free shipping for first-time purchasers. And if you're not not satisfied with any product for any reason, they'll refund or exchange it. No caveats, no questions. MeUndies.com/morning. One more time, MeUndies.com/morning. Back to it, Nick.
Let's see. Back at home, Bob puts Jack to sleep again and finds Violet still waiting for Tony to pick her up. Apparently, she was stood up. When he goes back, she doesn't want to talk about it, so he goes back in the living room. Guess who's watching TV? That's right, Jack. He's just there with the remote watching TV, and then he passes out again as Jack watches an old movie about robbers, and they're wearing those old-timey masks that are raccoon, make them look like raccoons. But who should he see outside, Tim? That's right,
Rocky the Raccoon, baby.
Rocky the Raccoon. And man, let's enter into the greatest scene Pixar's ever rented, which is Jack versus Rocky the Raccoon. And I'll be honest with you, Raccoon holds his own for a lot harder than I thought he was going to hold his own on this
shit is so funny. And like what I like about
funny.
it is, and we've just watched 20 of these movies. Like this is the only scene I can think of that really feels kind of like a Pixar short, but just in a movie.
Yeah.
And it also fits within the context of the movie. So it totally works. But there's this like level of kind of like meanwhile that is happening here, and it just is so damn engaging and so fun to watch.
It's and of course I'm not gonna get into the details. The scene ends with Mr. Incredible grabbing Jack and Jack staring off into the darkness of the forest as Rocky looks back at him, and it's just like motherfucker, and
they're both yelling motherfucker in a way.
They're hot, man. So good, so freaking good. Let's see. Bob is excited. Jack has powers. Kind of missing the point here because reality sets in. He's like, oh my God, you can move through solid matter. And then the reality of the situation sinks in. Bob is royally screwed here. He's got a son that can multiply, move through solid matter, and soon he's going to learn can move through interdimensional, or dimensions rather. Elastigirl calls and asks him if his things have spiraled out of control, and he's like, "No, I got everything covered." Of course, this is the scene I was talking about earlier, where she's like, "How did Dash do with the math?" And Dash is asleep, and Violet's crying over ice cream because of the date, and then she's like, "Did Jack go down?" And Jack is just like an inch away from that glass, and the raccoon's on the other side of it.
You better not come in here.
It's just like, I'll get you. I'm coming. As soon as Dad goes to sleep, it's on again, round 2. Let's see. And then, of course, Helen can't control her excitement. She explodes. She saved a runaway train on her first night. Boom, no casualties. And Bob has to just grin and tell her he's proud of her, but he is red with envy. And he says, she tells he couldn't do it without him taking care of the family. And he's like, yeah, that's great. Bob, of course, does what everyone does when you're in a tough situation, tries to go to bed, but then his anxiety and his thoughts keep him up at night. So he ends up going like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to go learn this math thing. And he sits down and puts a pot of coffee on and learns new math. And then he wakes Dash up early in the morning. He says, hey, I figured it out. I think we still have time for you to study for your test. Let's go. The next day, Violet tries to talk to Tony, but he has absolutely no recollection of her. And she's like, well, that's just rude. Helen has an interview that night on TV on the way to the set. She bonds with the ambassador, who is they're very big fans of each other. I think it's Ambassador Selleck. Named after Tom Selleck, I presume. But halfway through the interview, Chad and the rest of the studio get hypnotized by the screenslaver, who tells them that he's hijacked the signal. He can hijack any signal, including the ambassador's aerocade, while it's still in the air. And Elastigirl's like, oh, shit. So off we go to another exciting action sequence where she heads over to the ambassador's airship.
Real quick here, a fact that I had for you, Nick, is the background of the news set is an exact replica of the one used in Broadcast News, which starred Holly Hunter.
That's right. Alfred Brooks, right? Yeah. I like that movie. Elastigirl heads over to the first chopper, but it's the wrong one, so she goes into the second one. And then she's like, can you guys swim? And they're like, yeah. And the ambassador's like, I cannot. So she goes, oh no. Throws everyone else out into the ocean, and then it has to slingshot the ambassador out of the chopper as it explodes into the ground. The next day, Violet tells her family about Tony, and he's like, oh, he's like, you know what? Don't worry about it. Because like I've had so many people forget stuff after I told Bob to erase their minds. She goes, you did what? And apparently he erased more than that. He erased the entire memory of Violet. And she's like, I hate this family and I hate being a superhero. I'm going to renounce superheroes. And she has the most teen thing ever. She takes her superhero outfit and throws it down the garbage disposal, forgetting that it's completely indestructible. And she's like, just screams, tries to bite it, and then throws it against the wall. Over in Washington, droves of protesters come out to support Elastigirl, except one little girl who holds a really creepy sign that says the screenslaver is still out there.
We need to talk to her. We need, like, if they were anything else, they would have like investigated this.
Yeah, this was weird. Very weird.
And, like I love the drama and tension felt there, but then immediately Elastigirl's got to go. Hey, police! Who she talked to in the last? Like, we need to find out how the fuck she got this sign.
What do you know? Who do you know? Winston,
I don't know what Kevin is mouthing to us. I don't.
Pizza, cigarette, pizza.
Definitely cigarette.
I hate
this.
He's
useless. He's useless.
One cigarette, Diet Coke,
Secret
then
cigarette.
More pizza. Got it. Let's see. Winston, of course, is stoked. The numbers are up, and the ambassador is super pro superheroes after Helen just saved her. But she's like, you know what? The screenslaver is still out there. But Winston is like, look, I'm super excited. We're gonna have a summit at sea on my super yacht, and I've collected a bunch of other cool superheroes as well, including, and she gets introduced to all these cool new superheroes. Void, who can make portals. She thanks Elastigirl for helping her realize who she is, which is a nice little touching moment. Then we get Screech, who is an owl, and Brick, who is from Wisconsin. And we also get to meet Reflex, who can barf on things, and I think Crushhauser is here as well. As the party winds down.
I know I talked about it earlier, but Void, Sophia Bush is like, and even Brooke Davis from like One Tree Hill, like her just excited fangirl voice is so perfect in this scene, and I love it.
I thought she could have easily been played by, what actress is it that played Cheetah in the amazing movie Wonder Woman 84?
Oh, Kristen Wiig.
Kristen Wiig. I think it could have easily been like a Kristen Wiig type character. Yeah.
Looking out.
Exactly.
Let's see. As the party winds down, Evelyn and Helen have a drink. Evelyn tells Helen that it must be nice to be out in front for once, but Helen tells her that Evelyn is in a similar situation. But Evelyn's like, nah, no, you don't mind it. You know, Winston's the one that can sell everything. I just like to do all the tech and make sure everything and make my mark on the world that way. Bob calls Dicker and begs him for help fixing the situation with Tony. It turns out he's like, all I can do is give you some information on Tony. Tony works in his family's restaurant, the Happy Platter. So they head there for dinner. And as you can imagine, it's super awkward, does not go well. And it ends up with Violet spitting water all over the place and Bob and Dash being very, very awkward.
I love the like well-intentioned, just like, oh, I know how to fix this. We gotta put them back together in the same place. And just like, oh, that's just not how it works.
What does he say? She doesn't normally leak out of her nose. Yeah, something like that.
Tim, this movie must pass the Bechdel test, correct?
It does pass. Yeah.
And I feel like it's maybe more than almost any other. Like in terms of, I know that's not necessarily like a gauge with Bechdel test, but like a lot of.
This one handily passes it.
Yeah.
Totally. That's been a thing where there's a surprising amount of movies that we talked about recently that don't, or that just barely. But yeah, this one, I mean, there's multiple characters have multiple moments.
Later that night, Helen calls back into Chad's show so she can bait the screensaver into interrupting, and it works. She uses a new gadget designed by Evelyn to track the screenslaver as the villain monologues, and how sheltered and passive consumers have become. We're gauging here. Like I like this because a lot of this is actually how Evelyn actually feels. She's like, a lot of you people, like, she says, you want superheroes to protect you and make yourself even more powerless in the process. Helen zeroes in on the building and sneaks into the screenslaver's lair, which is a bit run down. And she's like, oh, this is pretty easy. She finds all the plans for the hover train in the ambassador's chopper, along with a set of strange looking goggles. But when she approaches the cage the goggles are in, the screenslaver attacks her. She fends him off, and as he escapes, he triggers a self-destruct for the hideout. Helen chases him down the stairs and off the top of the building and all that stuff, and then rips off his mask as his lair explodes behind her, destroying all the evidence. But once again, the person inside the mask has no recollection of what happened that night.
Dude, this scene was incredible. And they had to put a content trigger warning for it because of the flashing lights and stuff. But I loved this room. I loved this reveal, this whole scene. It's like the way they did it. It was like genuinely scary and off-putting because of how they did it. And like, that's just a cool thing where, again, this feels like Brad Bird gets superhero movies and he gets what makes the cat and mouse game of the chase and the choreography so special. And like to have like the sets and the places, locations they're in matter just as much as what they're doing. And this is a perfect example of how to do it right.
If Tim was a super villain, he would have a whole room of just LEDs like 100%. This, right?
Yeah, but they would be iPhones. They would be like OLED iPhones. And they'd be huge.
Yeah, hold on real quick. Kevin slacked me. He was trying to say that Paula has a meeting that just came up. So he can't talk right now. So he still can't talk right now. So that's what he was miming. I still don't understand why he was trying to go on a cigarette break, but
Yeah.
you know.
We were way off. We were way off. He's like, I can't talk, smoke cigarettes. Well, that was our code back in the day when we were like, let's be silent assassins.
I do
Maybe-
love the that
They'll
moment
never
when he
smell
just
us coming.
he just punches the shit out of her. Like that dude, he's waiting for her to jump down that chute, and he just a little like sucker punch. Like, oh, dude, it's not fair. It's a bitch move right there, dude.
At home, Bob is a little strung out. He sees a report of a billionaire who's bought back his fully restored Incredibile, long thought to be lost or destroyed. And he goes nuts. He goes out and roots for his old controller and to summon the car to him. And Dash is like, holy crap, you got to steal that car back. But Bob, it realizes, he's like, oh God, this is a bad idea. Because if I do that, he's like, I don't want some angry rich guy mad at me, which could be a distraction to your mother. So he puts the controller back. Violet and Dash figure out that Jack has powers and start handling Bob, who basically has a breakdown. So he calls Lucius. He wants to call Helen, but he's like, you got to call Helen. Bob's like, we got to keep this to ourselves so Helen can succeed, so everyone can succeed. Then Jack disappears into another dimension, and Bob gets him back with a cookie. He's like, nom nom, want a cookie?
So
Jack, nom,
desperate.
nom.
He's so desperate.
A fun thing for you here, Nick, that I don't think you know, but the Scream in California roller coaster at California Adventure in Disneyland, they in like around this movie they reformatted it to be the whole area is Pixar Pier now, and this is the Incredicoaster now. So
Right.
the Incredibles
cool.
music plays, and it tells a story of Jack gets like lost, and like you're like trying to find him. And as you're going through the coaster, like a bunch of his different powers start activating, and you just hear like the voices like popping in. The whole
That's
thing
so
is like
cool.
the family trying to tempt him with the cookies, and they pump in chocolate chip cookie smell
God,
to
I
the
love
roller
that.
coaster.
Oh,
It's-
that's amazing.
it's
You
awesome.
can
Get the
buy
smell from the
Jack
chocolate chip cookie.
there.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
How do they get the smell?
Mhm.
What is he saying? I want water in my ear. What is it? I got water in my ear.
I think that when we do the inevitable in review attraction in review, Ring Credit Coaster might be kind
He's
of
pushing hard for that. I love
I mean,
it.
it's pretty damn good.
Of course, Bob
Kevin
tells
hates
Lucius.
it, but he can't say anything.
Yeah, okay, got
He
it.
loves it.
Bob tells Lucius that he needs some. He's like, all I need is some time. But Lucius is like, dude, you need a lot more than time. You need some serious out of the box thinking. So you go where everyone needs to go in this world for some out of the box thinking. You go over to Edna's, and as expected, she is pissed about Elastigirl's suit being designed by Galbaki. She's like, Galbaki. But she takes pity on him when she sees the state he's in.
I like
Bob
that
wants to-
fashion world kind of rivalry.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Bob, let's see. She takes pity on him. Bob wants to leave Jack with her, but Edna is an artist. Like an artist. She doesn't concern herself with such matters, of course, until Jack displays all of his powers and she pulls a 180. Oh my God, yes. Auntie Edna takes Jack and kicks Bob out. Later that night, Winston throws a party for Helen and makes an important announcement. Leaders from all over the world have agreed to make superheroes legal again. They're going to gather on Winston's cool superboat for the signing. Voight tries to ask Helen for some advice on how to balance her superhero life with her real life, but Helen spots something on the screen, but the big screen behind her in the footage with her fight of Screenslaver, and it just keeps nagging at her. Bob apologizes to Violet for messing everything up. This is a nice little touching scene with her and Tony. He just wanted to be a good dad, and then Violet realizes how hard he's been trying, so says, "You're not." She's like, "You're not good. You're super." And she hugs him, and he immediately falls asleep. Helen and Evelyn have another drink, and Evelyn confides in her that her brothers always seem to know what people want. She thinks people just want convenience, and they're willing to give it up at a lot to get it. And you're like, huh, that sounds kind of evil. And then Helen draws a parallel between Evelyn's words and her fight with the screenslaver, who somehow managed to hack into the closed-circuit feed of her suit, but also had simple locks on his doors. He must have wanted to get caught. And she's like, no, maybe he wanted you to win. She goes, that makes no sense. If he's smart enough to conceive of technology like this, he's smart enough to think of something good to do with it. The guy we put in jail was just a pizza guy. And then Helen realizes that all the screenslaver had to do was hypnotize someone to get a screen in front of their eyes. But what if that screen doesn't look like a screen? And she reaches up into his mask and dislodges a smaller, thinner pair of goggles.
So cool.
From the inside of the screenslaver's mask. But before she can put two and two together, Evelyn slams them onto her face. She's like, you are good. You are
Great
good.
reveal.
That's a
Great fucking
reveal.
moment.
Bob wakes up from a 17-hour nap and is re-energized. He rolls out to Edna's to pick up Jack Jack. And you know what turns out? Edna enjoyed their time together. She said, he is bright and I am stimulating. We deserve each other. And Jack Jack's
right, and I am stimulating.
I love his animations.
Friendship.
Walking down that hallway, Jack Jack looks so cocky and like everybody is beneath me. I'm so great, and he just like has this little kind of vibe to him. He's hilarious.
There's something about a baby that walks like Edna that's very funny.
Yeah, very great physical comedy there.
She, of course, made Jack Jack. She does best, which make Jack Jack a super suit that can handle all of his powers and monitor his physical properties with a little iPad. Jack Jack multiplies, and the controller alerts Bob, who freaks out. I got to get a cookie. And she goes, you do not need cookies, as I learned quite painfully last night. Any solution involving cookies will inevitably result in the demon baby. And Jack Jack, of course, turns into the demon and bursts into flames.
Did you guys, did anybody watch the Auntie Edna short? 6 minutes. It's what happened when he gets
Oh, they were
dropped off.
together?
Yeah.
That's great.
And it's so good. It like kind of gives a reasoning for everything she's saying. And even like the little walk, she like pumps him up right before the dad comes. That's why he's got that swag walk. Also, one last thing that I couldn't say earlier when you guys were talking about Void, I really think that she could have been like the design would have fit really well for Kristen Stewart too, and Kristen Stewart specifically from like American
Kristen
Ultra.
Wiig.
No, he means Kristen Stewart.
No, it's
From American Ultra.
Oh,
yeah. From American Ultra, when she gets enthusiastic, I think could have nailed it with that, like the role of being like the fan that has now become a superhero. Anyways, that's it.
Jack Jack bursts into flames. Edna tells Bob to put the fire out, and he uses a blackberry lavender foam, which is very effective, edible, and delicious. Edna tells Bob, he's like, how much do I owe you for this suit? She goes, the bill is covered by your fee of me being Elastigirl, Mr. Incredibles, and Frozen's exclusive designer forever and perpetuity. But babysitting Jack Jack, I'll do that for free. Elastigirl wakes up in the freezer. Evelyn tells her, if you try to stretch, you'll break. Evelyn tells her that she's losing the technology to destroy people. She's using the technology to destroy people's trust in it. And Helen said, I counted on you. She says, that's why you failed. Why would you count on me? Because I built you a bike? Because you're my brother who knows your theme song? And she goes, but you can count on me. And she goes, I'm supposed to, aren't I? Because you have some strange abilities and a shiny costume. The rest of us are supposed to put our lives in your gloved hands. That's what my father believed. And that's what got dear old dad killed. He died pointlessly, stupidly, waiting for heroes to save the day. She says, superheroes keep us weak. You got to help me make superheroes. And you're going to help me make superheroes illegal forever. Back at home, Bob shows the kids Jack Jack's new suit and how to help Jack Jack control his powers by handing that he like uses Jack Jack to shoot at trees and shit, and it's really fun. Everyone's having a good time. Evelyn calls Bob.
That little like pistol almost.
So funny.
And then of course he has to immediately tell the kids, okay, don't do that. Don't do that.
I do want to say I feel like her plan is kind of silly in the sense that like they're all already legal. You know, like I get once we know more about the plan that it'll push much further away, but I think afterwards it'd be clear that they were all brainwashed.
Well, it's also super easy. Just kill your brother, right? He's the one pushing for it. Without him, is nothing. But I don't know. Seems weird.
Yeah, not a great plan is what I'm saying.
Yeah, terrible plan. But
Good technology.
let's see. Back at home, Bob shows the kids. Yeah. Evelyn calls Bob and tells him that the Elastigirl is in trouble. She says, meet at the ship at DevTech in 15 minutes. And Violet overhears that. She's like, what's at the ship at DevTech? Bob calls Lucius for help watching the kids, and Violet quizzes him about the ship at DevTech. Dash finds the remote to Bob's old Incredibill, and he and Violet suit up. Someone rings the doorbell, and they think it's Lucius. So when he goes to answer, Dash is befuddled when he sees all the other superheroes there with those evil hypnosis glasses on.
The goddamn owl, Nick, is the most unsettling looking thing when his head just kind of spins around. Oh, terrible.
Yeah. Thankfully, Lucius arrives too and helps fend them off, and a cool fight ensues. Dash thinks fast and summons the Incredibill, which bursts through the wall. Frozone manages to set the voice recognition to the car for Dash and Violet before he himself gets the goggles put on, and the kids narrowly escape. Over at the ship, Helen attacks
Awesome
Bob.
action, by the way.
It's great. And hypnotizes him
Scene's so good.
with a kiss and then the goggles. Violet and Dash take stock of their options. We have our powers. He's like, what are we going to do? He's like, well, we have our powers, this car, and what? and then they all look over at Jack and his super dimension as he super dimensions out.
I want to say, like, we glossed over it because it's hard to talk about, but like the fight scene between Mr. Incredible and Mrs. Incredible, or Elastigirl, I guess, really, really cool. Because like, you know, it's one of those things that you kind of feel like it would be like difficult for really both of them, but like they show it a little bit more than I thought we would get.
And the moment of just a little goggle handoff, very clever.
Yeah,
Totally.
Let's see. So they head to the dev tech with the ship, and when they get there, the boat has already disembarked. And Dash is like, "Damn it, how are we going to catch up? I wish the Incredible could follow that boat." And guess what? It turns into a hydroplane. So they catch up next to it, and they're like, "How are we going to get aboard?" And Dash is like, "Listen, man, I'm firing on all cylinders here. I bet this thing has an ejector seat." And looks down and just before Violet can say anything, he just ejects them out onto the top of the ship. The conference begins, and Winston gives the opening remarks, and then opens up the hydrofoils in the ship, which propels it to the surface of the water, and it's just skipping along. It looks really cool. Violet gets real with Dash. She says, "Listen, we're not screwing around anymore. I got to go find Mom and Dad. You got to watch Jack. But of course, while Violet finds Bob and Helen, Jack immediately just escapes, and on we go to finding Jack. Void finds Violet, and they get into it. And this, I think, is the coolest fight scene in the whole movie, where she's throwing her through the portals, and every time Violet tries to get away, she throws a portal in front of her, and then she just drops back down in front of Void, and Void like knocks her out. But of course,
when they use the fire extinguisher to see Violet, and stuff
you
like
use the
that.
fire extinguisher. Violet throws up a shield at one point, and then Void throws a portal like down, and then pops up into the shield, and like they start fighting again. But then I think Violet ends up getting the better of her and knocks her out. Winston invites Ambassador Select to be the first to sign the International Superhero Accord. Dash and Violet find Jack and hide in the air fence, but of course that's not a great strategy because they can hear him muttering. So Crush Hauer comes in and crushes down all those to pieces. But Jack's like, "Fuck this," and just turns really, really big and lands on all of them, and then runs off through like 5 walls. Upstairs, the signing is finished, and they all get together for a group photo as Evelyn hypnotizes all of them and makes Bob, Helen, and Frozone tell the world that we're taking this shit over. They forcibly take the bridge and rip out the communications controls. Then they point the ship at land and destroy the controls. Jack comes in and telepathically takes off Helen's goggles, and she realizes what's going on, so jumps into action and frees Bob and Frozone, who then snap out of it and free everyone else. Helen sees the kids. Violet tells her not to be mad. She goes, "I'm not mad. I'm proud." And it's a good little moment. Violet gives Helen her old suit back, but soon the other heroes attack and a super fight breaks out. Sorry, this is where they one by one they free the other superheroes, but the ship is still rocketing out of control toward the land. Evelyn grabs Winston and escapes. Helen turns to the group, and Bob tells her not to worry about the kids. She goes, he says, "Go finish your mission."
But even right here, even more cool sequences with Void and her fighting style.
Yep.
I think I mentioned it the last time that we did sort of a reaction to Incredibles 2, but again, my favorite parts of Days of Future Past X-Men were all of the sequences with that portal superhero, whatever her name is. And they are equally as cool here because it's so easy to be creative and have that just be visual candy for the viewer. And all those sequences where Elastigirl's about to punch and the portal goes in front of her arm and then comes out on the side and she punches herself.
Yeah.
Super cool. I love all that stuff.
Was I the only one that was a little bit sad that she got her old suit back? I really liked her new suits.
New suit was dope, but you gotta have them all in the suits at the end of it.
Yeah, I don't like the red suit. I liked what's his face, Mr.
You liked his blue and black, and
blue and black one.
suit.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm very much like, I kind of wish they had the Power Rangers vibes as opposed to the Fantastic Four vibes. I wish they all had different color combos to kind of separate them all, you know?
Y'all are crazy. One day we're all going to dress exactly the same here. Kind of funny. Blue jumpsuits, cool little
thank you.
Nick sold me.
Don't accept the Kool-Aid if that ever happens.
Tim did. If Tim's in, he's going to sell you guys one by one. He's like, "Let's go to dinner. Let's get some dinner."
Here's the thing, guys.
It would be so cool. We could get Fred Perry jumpsuits. They'll pay us thousands of dollars. Winston jumps out of Evelyn's plane, and Evelyn teams up with Void to get aboard. There's a cool sequence too here where she's like flinging it all around with these voids. Crushhauser accidentally cuts off the path to the engine room before he gets his goggles taken off. And they got that great back and forth where he's like, well, uncrush it. He goes, I'm not gonna, uncrush it? I don't uncrush things. Like, you unpunch people? And he's like, well, that's a good point, Buck. So they decide to take matters in their own hands and go up to the top. And Violet comes up with the plan. She's like, Bob, you're going to go down there and you're going to turn the rudder as Frozone breaks off one of the little hydro skis things, and we'll plummet this bad boy. We'll stop this ship dead in its tracks. Of course, Evelyn launches her plane up into the stratosphere, pulls up and goes all the way to the point where it deprives Helen of oxygen and hypoxia sets in, and she starts getting a little goofy. So she grabs a flare and shoots out the cockpit window, which and then Evelyn gets punted out of the cockpit as well. And then Helen's like, crap, and jumps out after her.
Was anyone disappointed that like she didn't take a really deep breath to like expand her lungs? So I was like, it seems like the move right there, right?
I feel like it's fun to be loopy. Sometimes you.
I guess I don't even know if that's like the thought process. I don't know. I think when she's just kind of caught up in trying to get to the cockpit, but she very easily may not have had that last sort of dash towards the pilot seat to grab the mask, because she was already getting real loopy there. Once Evelyn gets knocked out of the ship, so it was very dangerous. I'm shocked she didn't die right then and there.
Very violent the way she gets knocked out too.
Yeah, fuck yeah, it is, dude.
I was shocked that she wasn't just decapitated or something.
Yeah, like the shattered glass, the shards of glass around the window, like her body just flies through there. Yeah, go save that dead body, Helen.
Of course, Bob ties the anchor, like rips the anchor off and ties the chain around him as he jumps into the water.
Wouldn't it have been easier to just use the anchor? I don't know how long anchors are or how that works. But I feel like
about 6 feet long. Yeah.
Well, I think they want. I guess purpose?
Because that would have eventually hit the whatever the shoreline is, and then curved.
I don't know.
Well,
it's possible.
That was cool. I like the imagery of him like undoing the chain and then redoing it around his waist. I thought that was super cool.
I like that too. It did look really rad.
Let's see. Helen and Void save Evelyn as they're flying through the air, and she's like, "Come on, do the parachute, and she finally pops a portal so she can save her life. As Frozone manages to start steering the ship, Void throws out that last-minute pearl, says Helen. As Evelyn and Frozen knock one of the hydroplane's skis off, and the ship plummets into the ground as Bob turns the rotor so it can kind of slow it down a little bit. And then as the ship starts going ashore, Frozone does the coolest thing ever, where he freezes all of the massive wave that ends up cushioning the ship as it lands on the street, and it just kind of bumps up against one of the buildings, which is nice. With the day saved, Winston tells everyone, he's like, I got a good feeling about everything, and Violet apologizes to Void for having to punch her out, while Dash calls in the Incredible, and he comes up all wet, and Bob gives him a look, and he's like, come on, like, what do you want me to do? Come on, guys. Later, of course, we cut, and a federal judge officially makes it superheroes are legal again. Violet finally just steps up and reintroduces herself to Tony. She's like, I would like to go out with you on a date. And he goes, okay, cool. So they go to see a movie, which the whole family joins them. And it's very, very much that scene that you just never want to have happen to you when you're a kid. But of course, in typical Incredibles fashion, when they pull up, a car chase rockets right by them as police are ensuing. And they all look at each other. And Violet pushes Tony out of the car with a handful of cash and says, I'll be back in like 8 minutes. Just buy me a ticket and save me a seat in the 8th row, whatever it is. She goes, I'll be back before the previews are over. And together, the Incredibles take off after the bad guys.
Love it. There's a little tiny baby post-credit scene of the credits end, and the Underminer pops back up and just kind of like goes along, showing that he escaped and is alive. But
funny.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
7 syllables in the middle. You need 5 for the first and last line. If you're not poetic, no need to fret. Haikus don't need to write. Haiku in review. Haiku in review.
You can go to patreon.com/kindafunny to write your review in haiku form. Andy, I just want to let you know, I know you're not part of Scream in Review, but Elise Willems is, and she took up the challenge to do the haiku song herself, but she wanted to make sure she got it right, and she nailed it. She absolutely nailed it. We auditioned it with her. We had her like kind of go through it, and she just word for word, man, got it all right.
I'm good you all made her audition. Yeah, I'm glad you all made her go through the test and everything.
We would not replace you with her without an audition.
Oh.
Permanently replace.
Anyway, you can go to Patreon, like I said, just like Andrew Feisner did. Raccoon versus Child. Bitten off more than can chew. Baby, we'll get you. And Grant Burton writes in saying, Jack, needs to learn. The superheroes return, and reflux can burn.
Oh,
reflux love.
Damn.
Okay,
Wow.
okay.
All right then.
Hit me with some of that ragu bagu.
Do 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 do.
Ragu.
Do 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 do.
Bagu. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bad Guys Talk Bad Guys here for the Pixar in Review universe. Number 1 on the list is Lotsa. Number 2, Prospect. And number 3, Deuce Water and Randall. Number 4, Hopper from Ants. Number 5, Ernesto de la Cruz. Number 6, Ercole Visconti. Number 7, Syndrome. Number 8, Months and the Dogs. Number 9, Ego and Skinner. Number 10, Darla the Barracuda and everything else from Finding Nemo. Woody and Sid from Toy Story 1 and 11. 12 is Gabby. 13 is Hard Scrabble and the Roars. 14, Otto from Wall-E. 15 is Mordu and the Witch. 16, The Muddy Water and the Pterodactyls, which I assume is from The Good Dinosaur. Chuck and Hubris are at 17 from Cars. 18 is Jackson Storm and Sterling from Cars 3. 19, Axelrod and the Lemons from Cars 2. 20 is Joy in San Francisco, Inside Out with a little asterisk. And the 21, of course, has an asterisk as well because it's that fear of getting lost in a department store from Finding Dory. Where
Was that really the villain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go.
Where do you want to put Evelyn and the Screenslaver?
I'm gonna go pretty high. I'm gonna say under Ernesto de la Cruz
I like
and
that.
above
What?
Hercule in Luca.
Oh, I like that.
What number is that?
That is number 5.
6.
That would be number
5.
6. Basically.
6. It is 6. Yeah.
I would
7.
go below
Yeah.
Ernesto de la Cruz only because he was willing to kill his friend to
Yeah.
become a
that's what I
Tim
would've
star.
say-
I think that's what Tim said.
That's what Tim said.
What's
Oh.
above the dog, the dude and the dogs?
Syndrome from Incredibles 1.
Yeah, I guess I would put it below Syndrome. I think Syndrome was a better villain, but because he did kill a bunch of superheroes. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like he finished the fucking job. He wasn't playing at it. Fucking Syndrome's crazy. I miss him.
Joey, where do you put it?
I was with you under Ernesto de la Cruz.
Oh, I was saying over. Oh wait, under Ernesto. Did Tim say over
We're all
or
in the
under?
same spot. We're all in the same
We're all in
spot.
the same
No, he
spot.
said
So-
under.
I said
He said
over
under.
Hercule from Luca.
Yeah.
So we're gonna put her
Under
at
Ernesto.
6.
Got it.
Under. So 5 is Ernesto de la Cruz. 6 is Evelyn and the Screensaver, Slaver from Incredibles 2, and 7 is Ercole Visconti. And there you
See,
go.
I'm with Andy. The name is a little bit off because every time you want to say screensaver and like it doesn't have enough of a to get you to remember that
It's
it's
a 90s alt rock
screenslaver.
band that
But
didn't
it's-
make it.
it's
It's like
very-
naming your band Ambulina or something crazy like that.
It's the Little Digs, which reminds me, Little Digs on Andy here. Andy, I need to clarify something because something happened a couple days ago that I'm not sure. I just laughed it off because I think I might have heard it fucking wrong. But were you talking shit about my fan?
Yeah.
You motherfucker! I hate you. I hate you.
Tim, I want you to know I defended your fan.
Yeah.
Well, I
yeah.
mean, I was just like, it's too easy, Andy. It's
Yeah,
make
'cause
fun
the-
of God. Look at it. The blue on the bottom is just like glowing. Or
I
purple,
made
I'm
I
sorry.
made fun of the fan because the last time I was there with Tim, it's everything all white. The whole everything is all white inside of this entertainment center, and I knew I was gonna annoy him, and I went, man, that fan really sticks out, huh?
yeah,
And
it
he-
fucking does.
And
I
are
hate
you
it so
aware
much.
that he could have it like send it somewhere and they'll paint it for him, and he hasn't
Really?
done it?
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
I'm not aware of
gosh.
that.
Oh really?
Yeah, no. Give me a link to that. I'll do that for freaking sure, Kevin.
By
Also,
somewhere, he
Andy,
just means that Kevin will spray paint it for you.
Yeah,
but-
no, Andy, I want you to know I've thought about this every day. When I look at it, I'm like, did Andy say what I think he said?
It's awesome.
Tim just waking up in a cold sweat at 3:30 a.m.
I bet they could paint that plant too.
I hate you all. I hate you all. All right, so it's time to rank the Pixar universe, baby. Currently, number 1, we have Coco. Number 2, we have Up. Are we gonna bring it up on the screen so I can
Sorry,
read it?
yeah,
That
yeah.
would be really cool. I
Sorry,
was
give me
going
one
off of
second.
memory there for
Number
a
3
second.
is Iron Man 3. Number 4, Star Wars, a Rogue Story, Rogue One. What is
Wait,
it?
sorry, hold on. There it is.
Rogues.
Number
Rogue
1,
Story.
Coco. Number 2, Up. Number 3, Monsters Inc. Number 4, Finding Nemo. Number 5, The Incredibles. Number 6, Wall-E. Number 7, Toy Story 3. Number 8, Inside Out. Number 9, Toy Story 2. Number 10, Toy Story 4. Number 11, Toy Story. Number 12, Luca. 13, Ratatouille. 14, Finding Dory. 15, Monsters University. 16, Cars. 17, A Bug's Life. 18, Cars 3. 19, Good Dinosaur. 20, Brave. 21, Cars 2.
Is this
Who
the
wants to
last
start?
one?
No.
No, we have
No.
more. Okay.
We have
Two more
Onward
after this.
and
Brave and Soul.
And Soul.
Oh no,
Onward
no,
and
Onward
Soul.
and Soul. Yeah.
Onward Soul.
I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna say I want to put this above The Incredibles. I think that overall I like this better. I think it has more fun moments. I like the family dynamic. I like that we get more of
Bold.
Violet and everybody
Bold
like
and
that. I
spicy.
think Edna's super funny. We got the funny raccoon scene with Jack Jack. We get the cool fight scenes with Void. I think it's number 5.
God, this is so
I
tough.
think
I'm right there
I
with
think
Joey.
Joey's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with Joey specifically
Holy
because
fuck.
going with this list, I'm going there. I will say it's blasphemy to me. I don't think this is better than Inside Out. I definitely don't think it's better than the Toy Story series, but playing this as it lies here, I do think that it is stronger than WALL-E, and I do definitely think that it is stronger than Incredibles 1.
So you go with the play it as it lies strat.
Yeah, you got to go with play that.
Because a lot of the times I'm in your boat, Tim, where I go, well, I do think it's better than that movie way up there, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't dare put it over these movies in the middle.
But that's my thing, is like just it depends on the movie
play it
and
by
what
ear,
fight
play
I'm
by-
yeah, exactly. And with this, I'm so upset with the Toy Story rankings here that I just got to take that on the chin and understand it is
Take
what
it
it
on
is.
the
So then if playing it as it lies there, I'm like, yeah, I think this is number 5.
Also, Inside Out too high.
100%. Joey's
Damn.
so right. The only thing Joey's not right about is where Wally belongs.
I could not,
WALL-E too
in
high.
my right mind, put this over Toy Story 3. This would go at number 8, above Inside Out, underneath Toy Story 3.
Is it because Wally's should be number 1? Be honest.
Yeah, for sure, Kevin. Like number 1, like WALL-E is my center. That's my origin.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Andy on this one. I think I probably would put it at number 8 too. I really like this movie. I don't think it's better than The Incredibles. I think it's a better movie than The Incredibles. I think it's better animated, and there's more of it, and we get more great stuff. But The Incredibles for me is very special, and I think the moments that hit way harder. This movie is great, but it doesn't have, and it's got great humor, but it doesn't have that one wonderful moment of Dash running across the water, or the Avengers moment where they all get together as a family and fight for the first time. So I would put this probably a little bit lower. I'd put it underneath Toy Story 3.
I changed my vote, and it doesn't matter, but I'm going to put this below Toy Story 2.
Okay, that's too
Damn,
low, Andy.
that's
I
a
can't
big
go there
change.
with you. I'm sorry, Andy. I'm not certified
It's
for
a
that
bridge
depth.
too far.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like I just said, I'm with Joey. I think that it goes above number 1 or so 5. Sorry.
Yeah, we're
Incredibles
wild right
one.
now.
Got it,
People
got
are
it.
going to be
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
going to be so mad at us.
They're
Let
gonna be
him. Let
Well,
him.
take it
Also,
because the new number
Ratatouille is
5,
so low.
Incredibles 2. That's how it goes because me, Joey, and Kevin all voted that way.
Yep.
There you go.
Over
everybody.
WALL-E, Kev?
I mean, Wally should be number 1. So if it's not number 1, fucking put it at 22. If that's
Kevin's
what
like,
you
I
want.
want to burn the world. Some
Losers.
people just want to watch the world burn, Andy.
Yeah.
it's kinda-
Can't believe Ratatouille's gonna be at 14.
anyone can
Overrated.
cook, Joey.
Such a bitch.
Like I said earlier, we're returning next week to where it all began with MCU in review. We are doing Iron Man 3, and then we're doing Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Stay tuned. Watch that stuff. Do your homework. Till next time. I love you all.
Have an incredible day, everyone.
Yeah.